In the beginning, there was an egg. And out of that egg hatched Arceus, and thus began the creation era of the Pokemon world. Arceus then created the Pokemon world, but it was nothing like the world that we know it as today. It doesn't go into specifics on what this world was, but there was deep magma, but no land or sea. He just kind of half-assed it. What he didn't half-ass was creating Palkia, Dialga, and Giratina. He gave Palkia the power of space, Dialga the power of time, and banished Giratina to the distortion world for bad behavior. Arceus then made Mesprit the spirit of emotion, Azelf the spirit of willpower, and Uxie the spirit of knowledge for Pokemon and people alike. Even though during this time there were no Pokemon or people other than the ones that I'm mentioning right now. After this point, Mew start to appear on the planet in large numbers. Mew is the ancestor of every human and Pokemon and contains the DNA of all Pokemon and humans, and eventually all Pokemon and humans evolve from Mew. In the deep magma, Primal Groudon is then born, and Primal Groudon makes land. Because Primal Groudon makes land, Landorus, Tornadus, Thundurus, and Enamorus are born. Tornadus and Thundurus are always beefing with tornadoes and thunder, so Landorus settles the beef. And together, Enamorus and Landorus make springtime, spreading foliage across all the planet and all the land. And from the springtime and foliage that they make, Zygarde is born to protect the ecosystem. On the flip side of that, the pressure from the deep sea trenches creates Kyogre, and Kyogre creates the sea, where Manaphy is born on the seafloor and Fione is born in the warm seas. Minerals from the ozone layer create Rayquaza, and then Rayquaza controls and creates the sky as we know it is today. Now, it should be known, depending on which games you play and where you look at in the games, sometimes instead of magma making Groudon, which makes land, sometimes they have that in the vice versa. Groudon appears out of nowhere, then makes land, depending on the game you play. Arceus makes Regigigas, and he does some home remodeling and product placement, moving continents to make a region. The violence from all this land moving creates Stark Mountain, and Heatran is formed in the lava. After this point, the Pokemon world is formed, the creation era is over, and Arceus, along with every other legendary Pokemon that I named, basically fall into a dormant state until some evil corporation or 10-year-old wakes them up in a couple thousand millennia, thus beginning the prehistoric era. At this point, fossil Pokemon are a thing. This includes Cranidos, Aerodactyl, Ammonite, Arcan, Kabuto, Anorith, Lileep, Shieldon, Tortuga, Genesect, that is important, Tyrant, and Amora. At this point, the Mew population isn't zero, but it has decreased, and humans are appearing on the land, evolving from Pokemon. Regigigas comes out of retirement to make the legendary giants. In the Stone Age, he makes Regirock. In the Ice Age, he makes Regice. Iron Age, he makes Registeel. And then somewhere along the way, he makes Regieleki and Regidrago. And it says that Regidrago just wasn't finished. He just banished him before he even got to finish them. But yeah, that's her story. Humans labeled them the legendary giants and worship all six: Regirock, Regice, Registeel, Regieleki, Regidrago, and Regigigas. But then somewhere along the way, they feared them and sealed them away, all in separate locations, and made some crazy rules for unsealing that seal. But then just put Regigigas at level 1 in Snowpoint Temple in the Sinnoh region. Now we get to the point where we could start talking years. So I'm going to start referencing years as how far they are from today. 20,000 years ago, a meteorite crashes on Earth, something that will happen plenty of times by the end of this video. So yeah, 20,000 years ago, a meteor crashed onto Earth, and 1,000 years from that point, Eternatus comes out of it. And this starts the cataclysmic darkest day, and also starts Dynamaxing. Zacian and Zamazenta, accompanied with twin brother trainers, defeat Eternatus and seal him away. Then another and totally separate set of twin brothers share one legendary dragon Pokemon and create the Unova region. The twin brothers then fight, and that one legendary dragon splits into two, representing truth and ideals, yin and yang, but both of the dragons are equal, and after fighting for some time, they realize this before their master trainers do. These dragons are obviously Reshiram and Zekrom. They get mad at their trainers and destroy Unova in fire and lightning. And then conveniently after that, an icy meteor crashes in the Giant Chasm, and the legendary ice dragon Pokemon Kyurem comes out of it. By the way, Giant Chasm was in Unova, but it wasn't called Giant Chasm before the meteorite came, if you know what I mean. Then we move forward in time to 3,000 years ago. There was a terrible war going on. It should be said that Xerneas isn't stated to start life, just give life to things that already have life and promote life for the future for people in Pokemon. Yveltal appeared and stole life from people in Pokemon, and after this terrible war, both start their own 1,000-year sleep cycle. And Zygarde, mentioned earlier from the creation era, monitors them both and regulates life and death in the ecosystem. Moving forward in time to 1500 years ago, writing was invented using unknowns. The evidence is found in the ruins of Johto, the Salacian ruins in Sinnoh, the Tanabe ruins in the Sevi Islands. This is going to be really confusing to say. It should be known and stated that it is unknown whether unknown started writing or writing started unknown. You feel me? Which came first, writing or unknown? I don't know, it's unknown. And then to wrap this up, also around 1500 years ago, Magikarp mutate and become crazy weak of a Pokemon. The Unova trio, Virizion, Cobalion, and Terrakion fight against humans to protect Pokemon while also training Keldeo to be better than them. The island deities, the Tapus, fight Necrozma to save Alola and free Salacion and Lunala. This will be a good time to say that will probably be the last time we mention the Ultra Beasts, because technically they aren't Pokemon and they come from a different dimension, so we won't even be touching that. This is the history of the Pokemon world. And we also won't be touching the Hisui region because I'm only getting the information from the mainline games and in the in-game text, and the Hisui region is from the Legend series, which isn't a mainline series. And it also would be a good point to say, welcome to the show, you know what I'm saying? I'm the Bread Show. Like and subscribe, and yeah, we're about to move on to the modern era. In the modern era, people start catching Pokemon at this point and start having them on their team. Of course, at this point, there's no box system, and the Pokeballs are very prehistoric, I guess, even though this is the modern era, but you get what I'm saying. The Pokeball's old as shit. That's what I'm trying to say. We move forward in time to 800 years ago, where Xerneas uses horns to light up Kalos and turns into a dormant tree, while Yveltal uses wings to engulf Kalos in darkness and turns into a giant cocoon, and these two Pokemon battle for dominance while being regulated by Zygarde. 700 years ago, humans constructed Bell Tower and Brass Tower. They made them in Ecruteak City in Johto as a representation to foster friendship and hope between people and Pokemon. Brass Tower was the place that awakened Pokemon. Bell Tower is where they went to rest. Lugia rested in Brass Tower, Ho-Oh rested in Bell Tower, and they rested there for 550 years until lightning struck Brass Tower and set Brass Tower ablaze for 3 days, and they both fled. Then a torrential downpour came and quenched the fire that engulfed Brass Tower. 3 Pokemon died in this fire, but Ho-Oh revived them. Those Pokemon became Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Raikou represents the lightning that struck the tower, Entei represents the fire that raged on, and Suicune represents the downpour that saved the tower from burning. Around this time, 150 years ago, the first Pokemon League competition started, and now we're in the era of the 1990s to the present day. Porygon was the first scientifically generated Pokemon. Blaine and Mr. Fuji discovered the legendary birds Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno, and record their findings in the library of the Pokemon Mansion in Cinnabar Island in the Kanto region. After this, Mewtwo was created from Mew cells, and this was also recorded in the library and in the Pokemon Mansion. And then we get into the present day era where all the teams are coming together and doing all the crazy stuff that they do with all the legendary Pokemon. For example, Team Galactic revive and try to control Dialga, Palkia, the lake spirits, but accidentally wake up Garantina and banish the Cyrus to the distortion world. Team Plasma awaken Reshiram and Zekrom, but are canonically caught by N and the player, while Ghetsis canonically captures Kyurem and tries to genetically modify him with the splicers. Team Flare awakens Xerneas and Yveltal to destroy and remake the world, but the legendary is saved by the player, depending on which game you have. The Galar Pokemon League chairman Rose reawakens Eternatus in an effort to make a new renewable energy source, only to be stopped by the player. Then he turns himself into the cops. And some guy named Heath finds Terrapagos in Area Zero, therefore finding terrestrialization. Obviously, a lot more things happen in Area Zero, but that's the only thing that I deemed important to the creation and the history of the Pokemon world. And then the only thing that is said about the future that I could find was Celebi. Celebi came from the future, and yeah, that's really all I could find about the future. But yeah, welcome back to the show. You know what I'm saying? Welcome back to the Bread Show. We talk a lot of Pokemon here. We talk a lot of Nintendo here. I started off fast because I wanted to get this off to y'all fast. And yeah, I mean, please like, comment, and subscribe. I got more stuff coming for y'all. Y'all already knowing that. I got the Soul Link that came out last week or a couple weeks ago. I don't know when this is going up. Love y'all guys. Spread love, give inspiration in all you do. and peace out.
Welcome to the Crash Show. Take 2.